Hey, welcome to the 525th episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. This episode is brought to you by patrons Cleve Brown and Micah Taylor. I'm Matt and
And I'm Oren Kaplan, and today we are doing the actor primer. We are doing an episode where we are just talking about our thoughts as directors about actors, about casting tapes, about callbacks, about being on set, and about a couple things maybe we should do after the shoot if you want. And we just thought, this kind of came off the heels of Tony Gapastioni and I talking about how it would be funny to make like an episode for each role on set. So you can just send that person that does that role this episode before you work with them.
Yeah, this is the primer. Like if you're a young actor and you're not sure what directors are looking for, or, you're unsure of what you should do on set, this is a nice little primer. It jogs your memory if you already know it, or maybe it's your introduction into what it's like to shoot a movie or TV show or commercial.
Yeah, I'd say this is a guesstimate. I don't know, Matt, if you think it's accurate, but I thought between the two of us, we've definitely worked with hundreds of cast members. That's like beyond a shadow of a doubt. I don't know if we've hit 1,000 combined, but I do know that we've hit 1,000 days on set.
Sure.
That's accurate. Averaging like 20 days a year at least, right?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
That's like 400 days. So 800 between the two of us. And then plus you did some web series, features, whatever, all those things that are like a 15-day shoots.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we've both been on other people's sets as well, not just our own.
That is wild to think about. 1,000 days between the two of us does sound like a lot.
Yeah. And our wives are actors too. So I do think we probably both put hundreds of auditions on tape for our wives. We've seen easily thousands. I mean, I'll see 350 for one, job.
Easy.
And we've heard stories from so many people that I'd say we're not the authority on acting on set, but we are close to the authority on acting on our own sets.
Yeah, maybe. I think at least we know a thing or two. Also, I'm an acting teacher, ironically enough. So there's that.
And I'm an acting teacher sub.
That's right. One time I teach at the Lee Strasberg Institute and I won the Oscar pool again.
You versus the students?
No, but I think it's anyone who wants to enter. But
did you get the short films right?
I don't remember if I got the short films right. I think honestly, it was pretty close this year. Sometimes it's like a little bit more of a clean sweep because I'm not voting my heart. I'm voting for what I think is going to win.
You want to win.
But specifically, I took a flyer on Sinners cinematography. And here's the reason why, actually. This is the insight that I was like, oh, maybe this is a competitive edge. I don't know if it's true for One Battle After Another, but I know historically P.T. Anderson stopped hiring a DP and kind of thought of it more as like a collective. Like he worked really closely with his operator and his gaffer and his grip, and they all kind of like did it together to make it work, kind of the way a cinematographer does. But there wasn't us explicit cinematographer for the last few movies, and I thought people would hold it against him. Whereas like, you're specifically voting for ADP with Sinners, and I thought if everything else is even, that would be the thing. That would,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that One Battle After Another. I loved it, but I don't know that it. Like to me, the movie that screamed out like, "Wow, mind-blowing cinematography" was actually Train Dreams.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Because it was kind of done in this non-traditional way with no film lights.
Absolutely. But there was more buzz around those two films. I think, but by the time,
I'm happy Sinners won. I think it was very deserving. I mean, that one shot that is like shown at every awards show is insane.
Yeah. I think I went, and next to you at the DGA when we say they did that, that sequence. And I was just like, oh, wow.
It is
just audibly groaning with delight. Anyway, about that, actors, let's hop into it. Oren, you put together a really thoughtful itinerary, a schedule, an outline even. So let's start with casting tapes. We don't cast in person as much as we'd like to anymore. So more often than not, the first audition opportunity is going to be a self-tape.
Yeah, I don't think this is controversial to say, but I would remove the unfortunately. I do think casting.
Oh, I disagree. I did. Well,
first calls.
Sure.
Is not a bad idea. First of all, it opens up the pool. You don't have to live in Hollywood to audition. Second of all, we are getting to see these people on camera. Third of all, they are getting to do as many takes as they want and then choose the take that they want to send us, which I think is going to be part of what we talk about. And
which is not necessarily my favorite, right? Because they don't have an infinite number of takes when we're shooting, right?
But they have more than one take. The way they walk in, whether they put their purse on a thing, like whether they were late, they're sweaty, they're traffic, the car parking, like all those things that
they get the
rile
chance
you
to
up
do their
before an
best, which is good for sure.
Yeah. And it's we have a friend, Tad Jamian. I worked with him twice recently, and my wife just was hanging out with him while we were working on something, and he told her that he does many, many, many takes in his self tapes until he finds a good one. And that guy books
He books.
effing stop.
He books.
So it maybe it pays off. So I like that we give actors the opportunity to find the thing, to watch themselves back. So I don't know. So I think tapes, to me, of this entire conversation, even though we're going to talk about being on set and callbacks and everything, I think this is by far the most valuable thing because it's what takes you from 1,000 actors down to 10 actors. The 100x like odds improvement if you do this part right. And then to go from 10 to 1 is a lot of politics that we'll get into later. But I think to get the callback is hard. And if you can consistently get callbacks, you'll eventually book.
You will book. Yeah, that's true. Definitely.
So my first kind of thought about submitting self-tapes, which again is like how most actors are getting roles, is that there is a difference, in my opinion, between how you would audition for a commercial, TV, and feature films. Would you agree?
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Absolutely. I think that what we are looking for from an actor for commercial TV and film is different. Mostly in so much as like with a commercial, I'm not hoping to transform anyone. I don't need them to, I want them to walk through the door literally being the character we're looking for. And if that's something kind of absurd, like we want to instantly think, oh, you're that person in real life.
Right.
And
there's a very high chance that between the audition and the shoot, you have not talked to them at all, right? You haven't done character development.
I think it's nearly a guarantee. Yeah.
Right. So who you see on the audition is who you are expecting to have on set.
Yeah.
It's not, it's less about potential and more about, do they have what we need?
Yeah, which is nice because that's a way of saying come as you are, right? And also, I talk about this a lot in my class. You can kind of surrender a little bit to, you are who you are, and you don't have that much control over whether or not you book something or not when it comes down to the elements of, are you the type that we're looking for or not, and all sorts of other things that are out of your control. So if you just come in and do great work, regardless of whether that work books you the role, people remember you, they like you, you build a reputation and affinity with casting, and those people are bringing actors in all the time.
Right. I made a little cheat sheet for myself, the prime differences I see. So for commercials, it's, to me, like you said, it's not about characters that transform. So it's not about having a layered performance at all. It's about a quick read. We instantly need to understand who the character is. This is usually kind of the main unit of a commercial is 30 seconds. Nowadays, 15 is even much more common. But you're the nerd, you're the beauty queen, you're the mom, you're the uncle, you're the dopey dad, you're the funny kid. Whatever you are, you're the hipster. Like, we want the second you're in the first frame, we kind of want to know that. And if the whole point is that it is a turn, you're the grandma, but you secretly love Fortnite or whatever. Come super grandma, and then we see you play Fortnite. We want the juxtaposition to read in like 2 seconds. It's not like a subtle.
Not even 2 seconds, instantaneously. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
For TV, this is where I probably have the least experience, but you and I have both done a lot of episodic type stuff, which I think is in the world of TV, and our wives have both worked in TV a ton. So I think from that, we have a little bit of experience. To me, I think fast, sharp, and you're often, especially if you're a day player, you're not to be like a main character or even recurring. You come in for like 1 or 2 days, you have 5 lines. Like, you're probably providing some pivotal plot information, and you have to be really good at delivering that. I think they call it like pipe, right? In TV script, the stuff that is saying like, Oh yeah, Mikey called in sick that day from work, which is weird because I saw him that morning. He seemed super healthy.
Right, exactly. You're the witness that gets them from the dead body to suspect one who didn't actually do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think the other thing, actors will be very familiar with this, but when you go from commercials where you have maybe one line or three or four, maybe, but certainly when you're doing multiple lines on a TV show, you can't be one note, right? Even in
Mhm.
this imaginary
Right. Even with
character,
3 lines of
even
dialogue.
with three lines, even with one line, right? Like even though you're laying pipe of like explaining exposition or getting someone through a plot in some way, finding the different thoughts and having an opinion of every single beat that you're saying and finding those little micro beats is what makes you stand out, right? Otherwise, it's just a flat read. If you're just a confused bartender the whole time, then that's not dynamic, right? Like we're still vying for people's attention and trying to convey mystery and intrigue or comedy or whatever it is. So finding the thing that the writers have laid out for you and embellishing it, plussing it, making it even better, or just landing what they were intending in the first place is part of it's the main job.
Totally. And then for features, this is where I'd say layered characters, being grounded. It's really all about the performance, realism, naturalism, and it's not even about like it can be big. You can be auditioning for an Anchorman, or The
Mhm.
Hangover, or Bridesmaids type movie, but every choice you make needs to be rooted in your character. It can't be like random, and you can't be yelling for just because the script said to yell. Like you need to know why you're doing these things, and I think when I am thinking of people auditioning for a feature, it's really embodying a character,
When
which
you
is
talk about
different.
this hypothetical audition, are you imagining people auditioning for the lead, like for big meaty roles, or similarly sized kind of day player roles?
I guess for a feature, I still think even if you're like the McDonald's worker at the drive-through, you should come a little like loaded with backstory. You had a tough morning that, your one of your coworkers called in sick to the shift. Like have a point of view. And like Ed Zwick said, having any angle, even if it's a completely wrong angle,
Mm.
is better than having no angle.
And I would say that in that way, it's not that different from either TV or commercials.
TV.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think commercials, a lot of times you're there to be like, to
Mm.
cut to you and you kind of
Well,
we both
yeah,
were talking about an
yeah,
actor that I recently worked with that literally you just cut to him and he just has like a really funny look.
yeah. Which I think again comes through. And if you're auditioning for funny guy at the party, for any version of that, you have to know how to land being the funny guy at the party, right? And I think that what we're getting at is like the specificity of the character is oftentimes on the shoulders of the actor. So to your point, like even if they're wrong, coming at it from having an opinion, having relationships, being aware, are you the new guy at the party? Have you been there a bunch? Do you know you're the life of the party and you can't wait to get going? Those are all different choices and immediately just bring something to life. Whereas I think oftentimes actors don't make those choices and things just feel really flat. That's what when we say it's not
Yeah.
something goes flat, it's because of those choices. It's not because of
And
innate talent.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to get more into that, but I do want to say that I think we both agree that there are actors that are really good at booking commercials and actors that are really good at booking TV and film.
Sure.
Like are like I think, your wife is really good at TV and film booking. My wife used to book a bunch of commercials and doesn't really book them that much, probably because she, I think, got to be like a better actor that does more work on the characters. And now she books TV and film, but she barely gets called in for commercials. And I don't think, I think there's a reason. It's a combination of the look, the performance, the naturalness, the speed, the pun, the character.
Sure.
That like if you come dressed like a nerd with like a bow tie to a feature audition, you probably are not going to get the role, but you probably will
Well,
get it in.
and it's so funny, not to go on a tangent, but you just did a spot where it was really, really heightened. And
Yeah.
I tend to not book that work, even though I'd like to. you effectively got to make a live action cartoon, which is sounds
like
so fun.
Mad Magazine.
Yeah. And so like when I think of actors like coming in costumes, it always drives me nuts. And I did something relatively broad actually at the beginning of this year, and the guy who booked it was like wearing a bad wig as a joke.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you're right. Like we would never, they don't really make movies where if you wear a bad wig, you're going to book the role anymore, But I think that's more of like about matching the tone of the piece rather than, the format. My wife did book a commercial just recently, but it might as well have been an episode of CSI or something. She was like a worried mom, excited to see her kid.
There was like it was rooted in kind of some truthful. Yeah, which your wife nails every time. Well, so I don't really want to get into any technical stuff because I do feel like we've heard about it ad nauseum.
You mean self-tape wise? Yeah.
But the one thing I do want to touch on, because even to this day, Kara, my wife, and I still disagree on this, is the slate. I think the slate is more important than you think. I think it should be really fast. Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear your voice. Like sometimes some casting directors have people write stuff on a whiteboard or on a sheet and hold it up in the camera. I still think you should, if you're doing that type of audition, you should still say like, hey, my name's Oren Kaplan. I'm based in LA. Like, let's just hear your voice. I just want to get a hint of personality. I know a lot of actors get super annoyed by the full body shot, and that is not us like judging your body. It's just helpful because we're pairing you up.
We want to know how hot you are.
No, because
no, we just need to know what you look like.
Yeah. And we don't want to be surprised when you show up to the fitting the day before the shoot, and it's like, oh, your head,
you're taller than we thought, or whatever.
Yeah, I think just make it quick. Let us hear your voice. And I personally like it when you're like nice and funny or have some personality thing. It's funny. I showed you a slate the other day where this actress was like, did a split screen of her full body shot. And she's like, here's my body. It's quite a body. Amazing body. And I thought it was kind of cute and personable. And you were like, ugh. So you know.
I was like, hard pass. Also, I don't watch the slate. I figure out approximately where the slate would end in the video files and always jump to that.
Yeah. Well, when I just had a casting for a shoot this week where there was no dialogue. So all we got was like slates. And for the people that didn't say anything, I was like, I don't want to cast someone who I haven't even heard their voice, because I think just saying hi and being nice makes me feel like, okay, at least they're nice,
Sure. I will say also, again, not to talk about my class too much, I told them this session that just ended. I was like, hey guys, the joke, quote unquote, in air quotes, where people will come in and they'll slate and then they'll be like, and these are my hands. And they're trying to be like a little cheeky and funny. About 50% of the actors, especially in comedy, about 50% of the actors who come in will make that quote unquote joke. And I told this to my class. And so they're acting students. They're pretty new. So I think it got them a little in their head about not saying, and these are my hands. And the slates were worse. Yeah. Like, so I guess what I'm trying to say is like, if you had something more original than, and these are my hands, go for it. You don't need to sweat it too much, but also it's fine if you just say that.
Yeah. And by the way, like, I talk about this a lot, but I judge. The biggest thing I feel okay judging you on is how experienced you are as an actor. And so if you act like you've auditioned 100 times, I like that. If you're like, sure. And you want to see hands, front, back, profiles, other profile. Our friend David Lotman always tells us like, this is like my good looking side. This is my like nerdy side because he knows his face inside and out. He's worked so much.
I think he's also probably saying like, I can be cute or I can be nerdy. The two things I book all the time.
Yeah. And it's helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know Tate Ellington?
Yes.
He's married to a casting director. So, and was in a short of mine. And I remember him telling me like, he plays like, kind of like cute guy who's like shrugging, like, I don't know, or like tired dad or guy behind a computer, like guy in the van. Those are his wheelhouses. And I think knowing that about yourself and presenting that way, I think is a huge asset in terms of actors. And it's hard because like, I think so many people want to think of themselves as the leading character, or, something that maybe doesn't totally match their self-image. I can't imagine that Tate, like in drama school, is like, someday I'd like to like squint at a computer screen and shake my head and be like, Jake, you got to get out of there, or whatever he says,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I mean, Chad, our friend, is very good at that exact thing.
A great guy in a van. Yeah, for sure. Or Shruggy. Yeah, Shruggy.
Right. But kind of like has like a nerdy persona he puts on for auditions.
Yeah.
In real life, he's always wearing sunglasses and riding jet skis. Something I'm always asking Kara when we submit auditions is like, do I send one file with all the takes and one file and the slate at the front, or do I send them separately? And a lot of times she's like told that, but I find that when it's one file, I kind of prefer it because I can, like you said, fast forward to the slate and do when it's separate files, usually they show up for us as separate clips, and it's harder to kind of scrub through there and hurry through the
That is true. I think that's a note that we should give casting, because I think that casting oftentimes will ask for multiple files and they will marry the files together themselves. If you prefer it that way, there's probably other reasons why they do it. So always just follow casting's instructions, but casting directors out there, I agree.
We use casting networks, right? Usually to watch auditions, and I've seen some actors, they'll have one clip and other actors will have 4 clips. I think it's just based on how they submitted. But
yeah, I agree, but I think oftentimes casting will tell them what to do.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah.
I will say on the topic of multiple clips, if you're submitting more than one take, which like I'm happy to see 2 takes, especially if it's something short. If it's like a 5-minute monologue, maybe 1 take's enough. But if it's like 5 words or just one scene, if you're submitting 2 takes, just try to make them as different from each other as humanly possible. Like literally go the opposite. Loving mom, mean mom. Like cool guy, nerdy guy. Like it doesn't have to be like still.
What if you're auditioning for a nerdy guy or mean mom?
Yeah, then it's like nice tepid nerd or overly confident nerd. Like think of like Ben Jarreau or something as like the different types of characters that he would audition for and how.
I thought you were calling him a confident nerd.
Well, I think he would kill confident nerd and nervous nerd. That's why he's a voice actor, because he is in like a bazillion shows and cartoons, because he can really like communicate a direction and a point of view very quickly. Because we've seen so many multiple takes, of a scene, and it's like they seem like
I don't know what the difference is. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So buttons and ad libs. We've touched on this before, but just because this is the primer, we should probably touch on it again. What do you think about like improvising, sticking to the script, not sticking to the script, assuming that the casting has given you no information about this?
Yeah, I think definitely understanding the momentum of the scene is first and foremost most important, right? Improvising something at the top of the scene is really nice because it feels like we're just sort of dropping into the world a little bit. And in real life, when you're shooting the TV show or whatever, it's not like, you're standing at attention and then the camera start rolling, you start doing something. If you're the bartender, you're polishing a glass or whatever. You're setting the scene as the camera sort of moves in, and then, there's a little bit of chuffa or something that sets the scene.
And then the sheriff walks in.
And then the sheriff walks in, and then you notice them, right? So that helps us as viewers understand that you understand, and just makes it feel like a real full performance, like you've thought it through, and like I can drop into that reality with you a little bit more. This isn't what you were asking, but I think it's really important to like be clear with your eye lines. If you're talking to 2 characters, have one on one side of the lens and one on the other side of the lens, so that you can turn and we can understand your decision to like look at someone or not look at someone. But that holds true to kind of the whole reality of the scene. If you're a bartender in this hypothetical, where's the bar? Where's the door? Where's the glasses? Don't just drop the glasses. If you're polishing a glass, don't just like let it disappear when someone walks in. Set it down. You don't have to get too encumbered with it. But the more real it is to you, the realer it will feel to us.
Yeah, and if it's a comedy piece, maybe you are cleaning it with your spit. Like
sure,
I think you can find moments. I will, just to add on to your eyeline thing. I personally would never like fault you for not having great eyelines, but what I do love, and I think having good eyelines is part of this, is you building out the environment on your end, on your side of the camera for the audition. And I will say about the multiple eyelines, make them as close to camera as possible. Like, don't make one where it's like
However,
completely profile.
Yeah, we don't want to go pure profile. We always want to see your face. So it can be subtle for sure, but I do like knowing which character you're looking at. Definitely.
Yeah. And if you're driving a car and you're talking to the person in the passenger seat, then just sit sideways.
Yeah. So I was taping a audition with my wife this morning, and she was playing opposite a character that she really disliked. And she printed out a picture of Clavicular. Do you know who that is?
Yeah,
he's like the looks maxing.
Yes.
He's like the most toxic. Like, she just detests this guy. And so she just has a little picture of him that she clipped to the light for her eyeline. And it's like a funny little thing. I was like, who is that? And she's like, it's Glovik. And we had a little chuckle about it at 6 a.m. But those sort of tricks, I think they help. I think they work.
Something we didn't even really touch about, the commercial versus TV versus feature auditions. But in commercials, we will get 300 tapes. I think in TV, you're probably seeing more like 20 to 30 tapes.
There's still a lot of tape, though. Yeah. There's still a lot of tape.
But for us, but I think when you're looking through 100 different people, then that opening few seconds is going to move the needle much more than a button at the end. Like, you might have the funniest button in the world, but if you didn't really capture us in the first like 20 seconds of the tape, we might not make it to the end, especially if you're like not an obvious casting choice, like looks wise. I don't mean like good looks versus bad looks. I just mean like you look like the character that we're describing in the brief. Yeah. So I do like, the cleaning the cup, doing something, you're on the phone, you're taking a drink, you're whatever you're doing. Build the environment out in that first second.
I like the buttons to be good. I like them to be very short, partially because it means that they might actually make it. Like, oh wow, is in this case better than I'll have what she's having, right? I'll have what she's having, the funniest button ever, wouldn't make the cut in a commercial because it's too long. We don't have 4 seconds to spare to land that joke. Whereas like, oh wow.
Yeah, devil's advocate, I'm using, the button is probably almost never going to make it anyway, but it is giving me a flavor of who you are and what you're going to bring.
So here's the other thing about it. If you give me 2 buttons, you give me a button on the first read and then a different button on the second read.
Yes, you must give me a different button on the second read.
I'm getting the subliminal understanding of like, oh, you've got lots of ideas. You've got lots of jokes. This will be fun. And if they're both strong, we're good to go. Right?
Yep. You're going to be a fellow creative, not just like a puppet.
Yeah.
So, and I think I would keep the middle as clean
Basically
to the script as possible, unless there's something really awkward for you to say and you can say it in a better way. But in general, I would kind of stick to the script in the middle and learn how to say the brand names, learn how to say, look everything up that you're not sure how to pronounce.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people not get roles that they're probably good for because they're pronouncing they're saying the product really funnily.
Yeah. What about, we don't really do pharma work, but like that would be the one instance where I might give you a little bit of a pass. If it's a new drug and it's like just a bunch of syllables and 0 vowels.
Oh, yeah. We would give them a pass, but we have to get them approved by an agency and a client. And
I take it back. We would have to tell casting to teach them how to say it before they send tape in.
Yeah. But this is not an episode for directors. Episode for actors. Okay, so backgrounds. I think, again, I'm probably more forgiving on this definitely more forgiving than Kara, my wife, is. She's like, oh, there's a bookshelf behind. She's a big believer in just like white wall is better than anything else in your house. And then we use a blue background, which I think just is a good contrast to human skin. But
we just got a gray background that Chrissy's very excited.
We had gray. I switched it to blue. We just have the seamless, so you can kind of switch the colors. Yeah. But I think,
So look, those backgrounds say, hey, I'm a professional working actor. I know what I'm doing. That's nice. I've absolutely cast people in their dorm rooms with like very clearly their phone propped up on a stack of books or a bong or whatever, for sure. Like to me, it doesn't.
And it's totally valid for you to be like, hey, I'm on vacation, but I'm shooting in my old room at my parents' house.
Yeah, it
and
doesn't
then
bother me at all.
Explain it away. Yeah.
Though I will say, I just was auditioning people yesterday, and my rule of thumb has always been like, hey, just don't make it distracting, right? Like that's really what we're getting at. We don't care what your living circumstances are like, or if you are really have an awesome backdrop or not. It just means we have less to think about or focus on if it's just a neutral background and your face, and whether that's a white wall or a gray or blue background or whatever. That's the point of all of those. But you should be thoughtful about it. I think that the hierarchy of importance for me goes nice light where I can see you clearly is more important than a neutral background. But then right after that, a neutral background is ideal.
Number one is good sound.
Yeah, number one is good sound. Yeah, that's true. But I did audition. I got a piece of tape the other day, and the guy was totally good, but it was a blank wall except for a boomerang right above his head.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't help but
take it down.
Just take the boomerang down. You're just like, I'm staring at the boomerang, and it's a nice boomerang.
Was he Australian?
No,
If he was Australian, that would be forgivable.
I mean, look, maybe he's an Australian enthusiast. Maybe he just has a great accent. I don't know. I'm not saying that the boomerang is authentic or not. I'm saying it was the only thing in frame besides his face. And you don't see a boomerang that often.
That is funny. I saw a tape last week. This guy was clearly in his living room or something, just like against the white wall, medium shot. But there was a baby, which I assumed was his baby, that was crying kind of a lot during the take. And it was not like a sad take, and he's not playing a father.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me to see past that. It was kind of distracting. And I know that you could have done another take,
I don't know that that's true. My heart goes out to that guy. Like maybe it's just like, you're in the middle of a crying session. You know what I mean? Maybe your kid has
one of those things that makes them cry, like the throat, gastro.
Yeah. And like that's as good as it got. Say you've got a crying baby and you did the best you could with the tape and you sent it in. We're not going to remember. We're not going to know their name. It's not going to be a big deal. You're probably not going to get that role. And that's frustrating and hard. And look, maybe you do, but I don't think it tarnishes your reputation. Like the things that would be
no, that would not be like
hurt a reputation is like this has to be way more explicitly like rude to a casting associate, like mean to someone. That stuff that hurts your reputation. A tape where the circumstances aren't ideal, it happens.
No, that's totally fine.
Yeah,
I mean, I've auditioned so many people in their cars too, and I've cast a couple people out of their cars too, but they're really, really good. And a good actor when they can give you a performance on the side of the road.
Sure. Or
I will say
on the smoke break, basically, right?
Yeah. What's your take on bathrooms? I mean, I'm sure we both shot a lot of scenes that take place in bathrooms, people looking at mirrors. Because I feel like when I have those auditions, a lot of people are trying to shoot it in their bathroom. And I'm like,
don't do it.
The audio is bad. You just didn't need to do that.
Yeah. I thought you were saying, I have seen some tape where clearly I knew they were traveling. Like we really wanted them. We wanted a second piece of tape. And they sent us a tape from the bathroom where the scene doesn't take place in the bathroom. We may be caster. It's not the end of the world. I think that ultimately, and this is something I try to teach my students, the casting, they're almost always actors, right? Maybe they retired, maybe they're still at it. They're your teammate. They're your coworker. They can let us know all of your circumstances. We're human beings, and we can kind of translate that up to final decision makers. You know what I mean? Like if you love a person who has to send in a compromised audition, but you really like them, and they have said like, hey, I'm sorry, here are my circumstances, and that gets relayed to us, we're fine with it. And I can sell that to client.
Yeah. And sorry, I didn't mean a bathroom. If you have a bathroom with great lighting and you can put a backdrop behind you, that's fine. I just mean when a scene takes place in the bathroom and instead of shooting on your nice setup in your living room, you're shooting in the bathroom.
So I'm a stickler. So I want everyone to take this is a big grain of salt. This is like a Matt and Oren-ism. I don't want props. I don't want I tell my students, I don't want you to I want you to paint the picture, like, but I don't want you wearing costumes or distracting me in any way. I want to see your face and I want you to do the lines. So even if
Someone's taking a sip of wine in the
you can
scene,
take
or
a
it's part
sip
of
of
the
wine,
scene.
you can take a sip of wine, but also I
Yeah,
would, frankly, I would prefer you pantomime. Honestly,
mm.
it would be totally okay if you had a wine glass and you sipped some wine or sipped some water or whatever. But if you're like, oh, it's the middle of the day, I don't want to drink, and you sip apple juice, that kind of passes as white wine. I guess that's fine. But if you sipped Coke or something like that, as soon as I'm like, is that Coke? I'm not thinking about your scene. I'm thinking about your prop decision. Do you know what I mean? So, like, to
I'm
me,
180 degrees the other
you're
direction.
like, sip the Coke.
I love props. I used to take headshots when I first moved to LA, and I just noticed a lot of people are more comfortable when they're holding their thing, their cigarette, their guitar, their whatever. And I just want to see you on set. You're going to have a prop,
Sure.
you're not going to be pantomiming things.
But I guess my
Um,
point is that I'm not impressed by the fact that you have a bottle of Down or
no, no,
whatever, you know?
not impressed. To be honest, I do sometimes write in the notes like, oh, look, they actually have the Downy,
Sure, but
laundry.
but only if you're trying to sell them through, not if you do you know what I mean? Like that's not a you're not thinking they're good because they brought the prop. You know what I mean?
No, but I would never count it against them. I think
Sure.
it's cute. I don't know.
Yeah, I find it like it feels a little amateurish to me. So this is the threshold that I tell people. Say you're going out for a doctor. You have to say that's the role. If you've got scrubs, I think that's okay. It's kind of a weird gray area. If you have a doctor's coat, so you've got a look where you're going out for doctor roles all the time. You can put on a lab coat for sure. You don't put on the stethoscope. That's the difference to me. That's the difference between like, oh, it feels like high school theater versus like, oh no, I'm a working actor who just happens to have a little piece of wardrobe. But you could just wear a white Oxford or just like look professional, and that works just as well for me.
Yeah. I'm just, yeah, I guess we'll just leave it at we're different on
You
that.
disagree? You're like put
I
on the
don't,
stethoscope?
I wouldn't go buy a stethoscope. And if your roommate is a nurse and he has a stethoscope and it's real and you can put anything to build the character and the environment. Like when I've done the very little acting I've done, like when I put the wardrobe on, it changes the way I feel
Yeah,
about who I
yeah, yeah.
am. I'm believe that there's a sensory part to acting that some people don't need it at all, and some people, if they're doing the scene, I'm not saying like you should be, doing
Yeah.
real drugs in a drug scene or anything, but I think the
Well,
tactileness of things makes a difference.
I think that so doing real drugs in the scene where you're doing drugs is obviously the far end of that. I think that everyone has their own kind of threshold where it's like, okay, well, this is a little bit too much. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's going to be different for everyone. I'm softening on it a little bit. I used
Yeah.
to think it
My
was
instinct is that
really
you've seen
corny.
a lot of bad actors do this and
Yeah,
it's really turned you off. And
yeah.
when I did my Lifetime movie, we had a police character and we had this woman audition. She was pretty good. I think she was kind of like slightly famous from TV shows, but she had this like really fake looking police hat that like clearly
Mhm,
she bought at like a costume store.
mhm.
And I could not call her back because I just could not see beyond that police hat. If you're adding something that just makes the whole thing seem so
Distracting.
fake,
Yeah, yeah.
then yeah, don't do it. But if it helps you to do that, but where I do get annoyed a little bit is if it's like a car scene and you went and filmed it in your car. I would honestly, it just makes me feel bad for you a little bit. Like I did this whole thing a couple years ago where it's a dad and a daughter on a fishing pier, and like so many people went with their kid to the fishing pier to shoot the scene, and I'm like, "Oh, I feel so bad that I'm not going to cast them.
Mhm.
You're literally making me feel guilty while I'm watching these things.
And also, I think we talked about that on the show when it happened. Similarly, I had some actors who were going up and down stairs in something I was shooting earlier this year. I couldn't see their faces.
Yeah,
Right. So like it's cool that I love that you want to go the extra mile. I really appreciate that. But really what I'm saying is that if you're losing sight of the root of what we're looking for, are you a good actor? What do you look like? How thoughtful are you? Do you get it? That's the bottom line. So like, yeah, if you have a real cop hat maybe that's better. That might be distracting. But if you're like, hey, this brings my performance to life in a different way, then that's embellishing things. That's improving things, not distracting from them.
Yeah. Now, I had a couple notes that are specific to commercials, and I'm curious if you agree on them. Number one is I do think you should research the voice of the brand. Like an ad for Axe body spray or Old Spice is very different than for like Children's Hospital, or for Nike. And so having an idea of the tone before you go in will probably help you with your performance about how underplayed or overplayed or broad or quick or fast or pensive it is. And I think that's my number one. Number two, if you're gonna ad lib or improvise or anything, think of it from the mind of a person who works for this brand and does not want to get sued. You cannot even be remotely close to being offensive in a way. You can't be negative about the product. You can't, taste the Heinz ketchup and cough, like anything that might be perceived remotely negative about the product, the interaction with the product, or you as someone associated with the product, just avoid. And I see this all the time where I'm like,
even like, I had no idea this was so good. Like, implies that some people don't think it's good. Like,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean?
I mean, I think if you're like, who knew, like this fabric softener worked. To me, I think that's okay to be like,
It's not as good at, it's not to your point of like client mind. It's not as positive as, wow, this is my favorite.
oh yeah, better than
Right.
I expected.
This is the greatest of all time. Right.
Yeah. But if you're like, yeah, and never joke about like any sort of like abuse or being mean in any way.
Sure.
Like never be like, finally I can get away from my kids and play this new video game,
Yeah. Unless
Like,
that's like literally the premise of the piece. Right.
Yeah. I think some social stuff gets a little like crazier.
Yeah. I remember there was a Teen Win campaign from before I was there where the mom was like hiding from her kids on the toilet. That
Oh,
did
yeah.
very well. And it was because it was rooted in the idea that parents do hide from their children in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Commercials. Don't expect people to watch your tapes all the way through. Try to bring your best stuff to the beginning, front load it. I mean, be good the whole way, but don't be like, ooh, this gets really good, like 3/4 of the way through. And then this last one, I mean, I think it applies to everything, but especially commercials, like be presentable, do your hair, do your makeup, do whatever. Like, don't be sloppy unless that is literally the description of the character. And even then, be kind of like the best version of sloppy.
Yeah. So it's tricky. This is oftentimes like you'll see roles for people who are meant to feel natural. And it'll be like no makeup, for instance. Wear makeup. Just don't wear a lot of makeup,
Yeah, like eliminate the shine, anything distracting, your hair. But yeah, I think for features, if you're playing someone, if you have really interesting freckles or, you are playing a mad professor and your hair is like Einstein level craziness, like, yeah, you play that up if that's right for the character.
Sure.
But if it's not, then yeah, just do it. I mean, I've seen also like really great performances and it's like, but they're never going to go for this person because they have like a giant pimple or something,
Yeah, it's hard because unlike features in TV, we have people from marketing and people who are far less versed in commercials and TV and shooting things that we have to work with. And so they often will default to the biggest performance or the most conventionally attractive person is a thing that I see all the time. And so, there are things that we do to mitigate that. Not that I have a problem with hot people, but like we're often trying to find a different sort of pathway for this piece, to make it unique or funny or shine in a different way. And sometimes people get a little flustered when they're on the spot and they have to make a decision. And they go, oh, this person's really good, or this person's really believable. This person has good expressions. What you're getting at is like that presentability and that just positivity. And that I think attitude really carries through all of that as well. The thing that I've heard, and maybe even have brought up on the show, I wish I could remember who said this, but I saw someone talking about commercial acting and how it needs to be positive. And the way in on it for this actor, and I've repeated it many times, is it's just you on your best day. You just got an incredible piece of news. You're so excited. And so you're in a really good mood when you find out that financing is incredibly cheap on Toyotas this spring or whatever it may be, right? So you can't, I think young actors tend to really want to push, especially like sales copy. They'll be like, wow, or this is my favorite, right? No actor would have really do it that bad, but they think that that's the way to do it. But the way to ground it in something that feels authentic, which is what really sells product for people, is to come at it from a slightly more method perspective, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and that otherwise it feels false.
I know. Like Vince Piani says this, and I've said it a couple of times too on set to actors. Like, you just won an Oscar. Like,
yeah. Or you just got a great email. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You just save 15% or more on your car insurance.
Yeah.
So for narrative, again, I think a lot of these things, like you're saying, overlap narrative and commercial. But I think for narrative, building out your environment, like we talked about, is really important. And I also think here's where you're finding layers to your character, opportunities for turns, like a chance, like you have 5 lines, find a line that can be quiet and find a line that can be loud, anything
I think you can
to
get
avoid
even more micro. Yeah, I agreed 100%. But like within the line, that's what a comma is for. Basically, any piece of punctuation is a clue for how those 3 or 4 words should be read, right? Is it an aside? Is it you double checking yourself? Is it you commanding someone? All of the, to break it all down.
Judith Weston kind of action verbs.
Yeah, 100%. But within a single sentence, you should be finding those different colors.
Yeah. And if it seems like the writing's not good, which a lot of times it's not, then try to find your own like meaning in these things.
I'll push back. Maybe the writing's good. Maybe the acting's bad. Either way, it's your job to make the writing good, right? So how often have you been like, kind of so on this line, it's not really clicking for me, and then someone comes in and nails it in the audition, and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize this is the best line in the piece. That's the power of the actor. That's the power of the scene analysis.
Yeah. I mean, I saw this audition yesterday where the actor we were auditioning said the line of the actor he was talking to on accident, and I was like, oh, it does sound better coming from him. And I convinced the agency to move it. Why don't we give him the line?
Yeah.
It's like, it's this actress says 3 things, like boom, boom, boom. And I was like, why don't we give him the 3rd boom?
Oh, that's funny. Boom, boom, boom. That's fun. That's great.
Yeah. Because now it's now that we see they're in sync with each other. Also, the dialogue seemed more like something he would say. It was like a very Gen Z dialogue, and she's a little more spokesperson-y. So I felt like it saved that line instead of feeling like incorrectly written. It was like, oh, okay, that works.
I think the big picture of all of this is that actors are often at a disadvantage in the way that PAs often are as well, in so much as they have the least amount of information of anyone, but they are really high stakes. They're pivotal, just like all crew members are pivotal, but like all eyes are on this actor. And so what we're trying to convey to you is that the more you can decode the clues that people are laying out, and sometimes they feel obvious, the more experienced you are, the more obvious they feel. But we're trying to guide you in the directions that make it apparent to us that you are going to understand and be an ally for us. And that, like, when you hear improv, I've seen lots of people who are really funny go into crazy town and stuff that we cannot use and is against brand guidelines. Whereas a person who is quick and funny and brand appropriate and understands the spine of the entire piece and is just plussing that, that's just a very clear symbol to us that, oh, even with the tiny bit of information we've given you, you can make things better. So imagine how much better it will get the more information you get.
Right. And a callback where we've told you a little bit more information about the project.
Or at lunch, or while you're in the makeup chair, like all of that stuff is going to be additive. But like actors are almost always in the dark, right? We spent months talking about this thing.
And I think there's this common thing with actors where they're like, oh yeah, you ended up not getting it just because you kind of, your angle was like kind of aggressive, and they wanted more like of a curious, and then the actor will be like, well, why didn't they just tell me? I can make it curious, I can do anything. And we know that you as actors can do anything, But the actor that comes in the closest to where we need them to be when we say action on set is the actor that we're probably going to cast, because we do not have time to do 20 takes on set working on your performance as we're trying to nail the angle that you're holding the product and the camera and the focus and the 17 outlines and all that stuff. So that's why all this stuff is super helpful. And the last thing that was on my list of kind of things for tapes and for your first audition is, if it is narrative, if it is a TV show that's either on TV or that you can look up the director or the producers, like find the tone and the vibe of the filmmakers and use that. I mean, you guys do it, right? Chrissy will be like, oh,
I have to watch a Taylor
Chicago
Sheridan.
Med is different than The Pit or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And that can be quick. You know what I mean? That can be a quick YouTube dive. And again, the more experience you have, the quicker you can kind of understand what they're doing. Like, you know, if there's an acronym in the show title, you probably already have a pretty clear understanding of the tone, right? If it's medical, if it's legal, we've all been decoding that stuff the whole time. But also, like, that rule breaks as soon as, you know, you're like, oh, I'm going out for St. Dennis, right? You better know, right?
Yeah.
If you come in and you're auditioning for Grey's Anatomy and then all of a sudden it's a comedy, then you're in trouble. So yeah, be conversant, be aware.
And also, this is why it's helpful to watch TV and to watch movies. If you want to work in TV, watch TV. And if you want to work in movies, watch movies. And if you want to work in commercials, watch a commercial once in a while, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's hard to cast the people that hate commercials and commercials.
Or just like don't know what you're talking about, you know? Like, Oren, you're like a true commercial nerd. I would say I'm like, I happily watch commercials because it's my job. But I have students who are like, don't know what Progressive is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to be fair, some of them don't live in this country, in which case that's totally fine.
Yeah, it is a very American brand. Even in Canada, they're like, I'm like, you know Flo from Progressive? And they're like,
no. But you know what's weird is they all know Jake from State Farm.
Oh yeah.
Like I could say Flo and they wouldn't know who I'm talking about, but Jake from State Farm, they know who that is, right? But they don't know who like Mayhem is. Anyway.
Right. You've never heard of Leonardo DiCaprio? Well, we were talking about kind of the next step of casting, which again, I do think what we talked about is probably the most important thing, because now you're kind of locked and loaded and somehow you got a callback. And it depends on how many roles are being cast and everything. But I think as a general average number, we're probably calling back in commercial world, about 10 actors per role. And in narrative, maybe like 8. It's kind of similar number.
Right? I think kind of less, actually. Like narrative, I thought you were going to say 3 or 4.
Well, for TV, maybe. If you're doing an indie feature, you're probably going to be a little more rigorous, right?
Oh, especially in terms of like a lead? Absolutely. A lead.
Yeah, or like a big, like a co-supporting or something.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not a good person to ask, because any producer I've ever worked with will tell you I would audition people all day. Like,
right.
Like truly at this point, I'm like, give me 20 and give me 15 minutes each with them. Like I'm a maniac, because I think you'd get a better result ultimately, you know, because
you learn a lot.
You and I both love actors. Your point of like, oh, why didn't that scenario where the actor's like, why didn't you tell me to do it that way? I want to give you that shot. Right. The fact of the matter is we have a lot of other stuff we have to do that day. When you're in casting, you're in prep on everything. And that you will burn out a creative director for sure. My appetite for auditioning people is easily 3x what your regular ad executive can handle. And that's even with their slacking other people and stuff all the time.
Right. But in narrative, you can spend all day. But you have actors in the waiting room. You know, if it's a SAG job, if you have them for longer than an hour there, you have to pay them audition. So, which is good, I think.
Yeah.
It's more like I agree with.
I just have to tell the casting to schedule greater gaps. Like they'll be like, hey, do you need 4.5 minutes or 4 minutes and 45 seconds? And I'm like, I need 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so kind of my number one rule for callbacks, and this is where in self-tapes, it's not as important because you get to do as many takes as you want and send a good take. In callbacks, you kind of have to be confident just walking right into the room. And my tip is like, dude, you got the callback. Like you should be confident. You already beat out 90% of the people that wanted this role. So you're like a top actor.
No, you beat out 99%. think of how many leads of high school plays didn't go to drama school and then move to LA and then get management and then get through the first round of casting to get the callback. Like, it's pro ball, And so the hard thing about that, and Kat, I think, put it so perfectly on our show, just getting the callback is the win. Like, that means you're awesome already. Yeah.
That means you're in the top of the actors, especially in LA or New York or Chicago or Austin or Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of big actor mark. But by the way, sometimes you might not be top 10% in LA, but you will be top 10% in San Antonio. And that is an argument for why kind of some of these smaller markets can help you build that confidence to make you a top 10% in LA.
And gain that experience too, right? And I remember back when we used to do everything in person, and then actors would come in with their headshot and on the back was their resume. And I would always, to your point about the slate, as soon as I got the resume, I'd scan it and I'd pick out any little piece of information. Oh, who's your UCB coach? Like, back, especially when I used to know all of them, or like, oh, I know that person, or like, how was this? Or, oh, I love that show.
Yeah, that totally changed.
Yeah, that's all gone. But I remember one of the moves was being like, oh, I see you did every single Portland show. Awesome. Like you could tell what region they were from.
Where they're from, yeah.
Where they're from and what they're booking. And, like, oh, how long have you been out here? That's not a pop quiz. That's me trying to figure out, like, are you relaxed? Are you happy? Is this going to be an easy situation, or is this going to be a little bit of a challenge? And if you are nervous, what can I do to make you calm?
Right. And even if in the waiting room you notice that you're up against John Hamm or Margot Robbie or whatever, just remember you're a top 1% actor.
Well, no, I think actually the reality is, like, you're not up against John Hamm and Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
But even if you're like, oh, I saw them on the show I was watching last night and they were so good. Right. That means you're in the same weight class as them.
Yeah. And I mean, that happens to me. Like, every time I get shortlisted on anything, I'm like, dude, I can't believe I'm pitching against my idols,
Yeah, exactly.
But
what do I say to you?
You say, good luck.
I say, I know I would probably,
Yeah. Actually, I interviewed a DP that works with Keith Schofield a lot today. And I was like, oh man, I love him. And I did beat him for a job once. I do think an easy way to show confidence is to, like, ask questions if you're unclear. Like, don't ask questions just for the sake of asking questions. But if you're like, is it cool if I sit in here, or should I stand, or is it any of that stuff just makes me feel like you've done this before.
Yeah. Like, and there's a big difference between, is it okay if I stand, versus like, I was thinking I'd stand up. Is that all right? Like asking for permission versus being like, hey, I'm throwing out that this is how I did it. Like to do it. So is that okay?
Yeah.
And also, if it's like, God, sorry, we've been having everybody seated and we're all set up for it. It's okay if you sit down. Being okay with that too. That's a flex,
Yeah. And I do, and we talked about this the other day, but like, if someone came in, it almost never happens, but it's like, hey, I did like 2 different versions in my first tape. Is there one that you preferred? What do you say to that? Because usually we don't remember. Right?
I don't remember. I would say just do both is what I would say if someone asked me. But I would prefer them come in and say, like, hey, I kind of gave you 2 different versions. I'd love to show you both real quick. And then you're like, yeah, great, go do it. And then you kind of have a place to start from. Or, say like, oh, let's just start with the grounded one. That's the one we're looking for first. Right. But being aware that sometimes we have a different perspective than what you have prepared, and being able to roll with the punches is just another way of showing us that you're experienced, which is really, I think, part of what you're getting at with the confidence,
Yeah. And by the way, if we give you a note to do it differently, there's like a 50% chance that we like how you did it. We just want to see if you can take notes, right?
Yeah.
And I wrote this down. I'm curious what you think, but I think it's totally fine if you mess up or flub or you're off or you skip the line, to be like, is it cool if I take it again from the top? Like, having one clean take, especially if we're going to have to show this tape to other people to
honestly improve. Don't even ask. Just like, I'll take it from the top and then do it. Here's the thing that you should not do. If you make a mistake, do not make a big show of it. Don't roll your eyes and apologize and like, that's the thing that's annoying. People make mistakes all the time. I flip lines all the time. We have an editor for that reason. Like, if you're like, oh God, Sorry. What
Yeah.
was I thinking?
Look, I got a
From the
ticket
top,
on the
one
way
more
here, and
time.
it's just like really stressing me
Yeah,
out.
no, just
Yeah.
like, and if you need to take a second, take a deep breath, close your eyes. We get it. And also, we're not going to say no. Like, have you ever, anyone ever been like, I'm sorry, just try that again from the top, and you go, no, we've got it.
I've done the opposite, which is I kind of done this probably a lot of times, which is I'm rooting for an actor that comes in. I know they have like the perfect look, or they just did something in their tape that's so perfect.
You're
And I
already
see
kind
that
of selling them through a little bit, even,
yeah, and I see that they are not doing it well. And sometimes it's because the script has changed, or sometimes it's because they had something happen in their personal life, or they just flew in last night from Europe or whatever. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, do you want to just take the script and go out? We'll see somebody else and just take a few minutes in the
Oh
waiting
boy.
room and come back in.
Has that ever worked?
I can't remember if I've ever actually cast someone that did that, but I do believe that I saved people from like being super bummed about what they've done. I usually tell them, I usually say like, hey, just so you know, you're like one of my favorite people from the initial audition. And like, I want to get the best version of this. And I feel like we switched all the dialogue up. And I think it would be valuable if maybe you took a break. It can definitely get in people's brains too. I
think,
hear what you're asking, and
Yeah.
it can
I'm
backfire.
asking like, because I think if someone said that to me, it would be hard. What I will do is I'll tell them to shake it out and do it with them. I'll be like, take a deep breath. Let's shake it out. Great. Loosen up. Let's go again. Right. Which is another version of like, hey, it's not that big a deal. It's just an audition. We're doing it together. But hey, I see that you're feeling a little tense. And also I'm going to all shake it out as well. And for people who are driving or whatever, I literally mean wiggle, like it's a little silly and it's a little physical. It makes you realize like, oh, you're back in your body a little bit. It kind of breaks the tension. If it's really rough, and I'll do this more on set, I will say like, everybody shake it out. And if the camera op doesn't shake it out, I'll be like, operator friend, shake. I said, everybody, we're all in this together. Shake it out. Like I'll do it to client. I make everybody get a little wiggle out.
What's funny is if you were the camera operator on somebody else's set and that happened, you would be so annoyed.
I'm a little Bandcamp when it comes to that stuff. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm pretty kumbaya, and I'm not mean to anybody ever. So I think I kind of earn the chance to be a little silly, and I'm very clearly like everyone gets it. We're all in this together. It's scary and tense, and we're supporting one another by doing a little wiggle. And also, most of the time, I'm trying to hire regulars. So I can't think of a time where I did that with a crew that I didn't know. Like if I had just like gotten in for the tech scab 2 days ago and, just shook hands with everybody that morning, I don't know that I'd be like, hey, everybody shake it out. But maybe. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I'm willing to be a little silly and to ask that of other people because acting is so vulnerable, and it's a way to break the tension. It's a version of going out into the other room and like taking a deep breath and resetting and coming back in without kind of accidentally putting more pressure on someone.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm happy to make myself uncomfortable, but I probably wouldn't ask the camera operator to make
The camera operator almost always, isn't that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I know it's obvious, but I do think you should be nice, not just to us. They should be really nice to the other actors in the green room. They should be nice to the casting associates that are signing them in, the casting director, obviously. But you never know who's in that waiting room with you. Like this thing I just cast, my wife was in the waiting room. And this one actor, she's like, oh, they asked him if he would be willing to come back in and read with another actor. And he literally said to the casting associate, like, well, what would I get out of that? Like, why would I do that? And I was like, no way he said that. She's like, yep, he said that. He was not interested in like helping out the other actors.
You could also be like, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm on like my lunch break. I got to head out. Well, is that going to be okay?
And I would never have known it in a million years if my wife wasn't in the casting office, but just like everyone knows everyone, and people, that is like a reputation. By the way, we did end up casting him.
No, did you really?
Yeah, but I didn't know that until after we cast him.
Oh man,
she didn't tell me. But
now you remember him.
Now I probably wouldn't cast him again. Yeah, because of that story.
Yeah,
and he was good, but he's not irreplaceable. I do want to say this thing. I'm sure you agree with me. Is that we do remember actors that we like.
Name dropping actors that we like this whole time that we will absolutely cast again, for sure.
But even if we've never cast them, even if you came, you did 3 rounds of auditions and we didn't cast you, like you're on our mind.
100%. And like, maybe, do I know your first name? Maybe, maybe not. Do I recognize your face? Absolutely. There's a young woman I think she's based in Chicago, that I've been trying to cast for years, and have almost, I like wrote an email and then stopped. I was like, she doesn't know me. I don't want to like get her hopes up or whatever, but I've been trying to cast this person for years and years. And I saw her in another person's commercial and was like, there she is. She's really funny. I can't wait to cast her. The right role is going to come across, and it will be such a delight when I finally get to cast that person. It'll feel like I'm getting the job myself. You know what I mean? Absolutely. You're rooting for people. There's an actor in Ohio that his stage name is Jazzy, and that took me 5 years, but I cast him in something for sure.
Nice. Yeah. No, so just because you didn't book it, don't feel super bummed, because if you did a good job, you'll probably be remembered, and at the very least called in. And I'm always like telling the casting director I work with, like, oh, call this person, call that. Oh, you know that person we saw, like, call that.
Or even like, do you remember we saw a lot of really good people on this last job, or 3 years ago? I was thinking maybe, who do you have from that list? And casting, definitely, that's their whole job, is to remember those people and keep them on file. And I wouldn't be surprised if they lose a couple headshots here or there when people are rude to them, right? Because the flip side is, casting doesn't want to hear later on, like, oh my God, this guy was kind of a huge jerk. Did you know this? Like, his attitude, does he treat people this way? That makes them look bad. You know, there are too many great actors who are nice to cast jerks.
Yeah. I told you I almost cast. There was a guy that was basically, we all wanted to cast me, the agency, the client. We all loved him. Great tape, great audition, great everything. And then my casting director was like, hey, just so you know, he's kind of has like a bad reputation on set.
Yeah.
And then I was like, how so? And she called some directors that she'd worked with that had cast him, and he gave her the specifics, and it was pretty bad. Like, he was like basically holding the production hostage.
Yeah, sure.
And so we didn't cast him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on one last thing, which is, if you are put on a veil, which is what we say, like, we're making sure you're still available for the shoot dates. In my mind, that's like a 25 to 35% chance that you.
I was going to say 30. Back in the day, and maybe this was just my experience, but it felt like, oh, you're it, basically. We're putting you on a veil means that you are the choice. And I think that might still be a little, I don't know if TV is quite as loosey-goosey as commercials are.
In TV, I think they pin, right? Oh, you're pinned.
Yeah,
pinned,
sure.
Carol is. And usually maybe they'll pin like at least 2 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes they might have an offer out to a celebrity as well that you don't know about.
And sometimes they'll say that also, you know, just for awareness, or even the worst is when you know that even going into the audition, it's like, oh, well, if, you know, whoever is available, then never mind. But yeah, I think that extra layer of not just agency, but also client. So it's not just production, it's also the studio and TV and film. We have another player on top of that. And if someone falls in love with someone, if say the client is like, oh, this person who wasn't totally at the top of Matt's list is their new favorite, and they all of a sudden are no longer available, it's a huge problem. Huge problem. And so I think that casting has been incentivized to start putting people on a veil quicker. I remember, like, working
if we're even considering like 5 people, Marys will be like, yeah, I'll just put them all on a veil. I'm like, okay.
She will put people on a veil that we were just talking positively about. You know, like,
Yeah.
so I've made her get printouts for me before where I have my yes pile and my no pile. If you're in the yes pile, they're already kind of like making calls and double checking things. Because
what do you think about? Yeah, sometimes people rationalize it by saying like, well, they'll look good for their agent if they're on a veil, so it doesn't.
I think
hurt.
that's true. I think it's like a super callback. Yeah, I think so.
But it is annoying to say like, hey, we might book you when you have like almost no chance of getting it.
Almost no chance, I think, is hyperbolic. I think you have a decent chance. Yeah.
Better than the callback. You're already like now in the top 0.5%.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why I like to be as clear as quickly as possible about it, you know?
And one addendum of a thing that I forgot to put on the list, but I think is worth mentioning, especially if this is the only Just Shoot It episode you've ever listened to. If you are one of the finalists, or even if you have the callback, there's a decent chance we've checked out your social media. So just know that. Don't be insane. Social media, unless that's the character you're trying to play.
And I would say also, don't let that get in your head. You know, I talked to an actor who I'd cast in something and told her that we looked at her social media. And then I noticed like she changed her social media to be like more professional. I don't just need headshots and stuff. Like I want to know what you look like for normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like
We
we're not
literally, yeah. Sometimes when we try to sell through an actor, and someone's like, we don't like their hair, you're like, well, look at their hair here and here and here, just that we find on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, you know, we're not going to show them, you know, the selfie where you're making a goofy face.
The party bus.
Yeah. If it's all party bus,
if you run a party bus business. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I hope that you give party bus in your auditions, but like a little bit of variety of like, oh, okay, like cool. You were in a play. Awesome. You're doing a short film. There you are with your friends. Oh, that's cool. Your day job is this. All that stuff is kind of like nice to just understand and humanize you a little bit and see how you present in other environments.
Yeah. This thing I'm shooting in a couple of weeks, I was looking at the actress that was cast, her TikTok, and she's a really like good dancer. Like, and she like taught dance classes and stuff during COVID, like on Zoom and stuff. And I was like, we should incorporate like some of these moves into the character. I think it'll be fun.
Has social media ever hurt an actor you were trying to cast?
Yes, I did a shoot for, it was like a PSA for like a gambling thing. And they did full background checks on every actor. And if they said anything political on their social media for or against the current administration, they were out.
Yeah. I mean, gambling, lottery, stuff that has like more regulation, I think you tend to be a little bit more strict on that stuff. So yeah, I think that's valid.
I do think you and I tend to deal with more experienced actors that know not to do that.
Your socials are public. They can help. Mostly, it's rare that they hurt, but be a real person. You know, like it doesn't have to all be, you know, one type of content.
Yeah.
Can I say something a little weird? Sometimes we're casting like young actors, and this happens more with women than men, but it happens with both and everything in between. If you are like a fitness person, if your physical appearance is part of what you're selling, that is okay. But it's weird to like be like, hey, I think this person could be really good for this spot, and then everything is you working out or in a bathing suit, right? Do you hear what I'm saying? Like if it's all like kind of like skimpy glamour shots, it's a little bit harder to like. It feels a little not safe for work.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes. I think we do cast a lot of models, and if that is like what you do professionally, like you're, you know, wear clothing, you're in magazines and catalogs, and
but also like sprinkle it's a little bit of fitness, and it's a little bit of swimwear, and it's a little bit of office wear, or what, you know, it shows you have like a breadth of work. I think sometimes when you just start out, you only have like a couple different kind of editorial shoots, and so that feels like it's everything. I think if it's just one flavor, especially if it's like a very distinct flavor like swimwear or something like that, it just kind of, you end up getting pigeonholed a little bit. You know, even if that's the work you're best suited for and want more of, you know.
Yeah, totally. I think, and I'm trying to think, my wife's social media is probably 30% on set, premieres, film stuff, and 70% kids, family, restaurants, you know?
And look, it's hard. I only post about work on my main feed, and so I need to practice what I'm preaching here. Like it's all the podcast and like set selfies. But that's because I don't want to post about my kids. We've talked about it. Who cares?
Yeah, but you'll post something interesting. I mean, if you see something funny in society, you'll post about it. And our buddy Michael Ryan Fagan, he's always posting funny things he's seeing around town. So same with Tom Morris, Carlin. Well, I like to dabble in a little life personality stuff. Yeah. Well, let us know if we missed anything on casting. We're going to do another episode about how to be an actor on set. The primer for on set. I believe it's going to be much shorter because you disagree, but I
disagree.
Do think that acting, being a professional actor, is mostly about getting jobs.
I agree with that. I am doubting our ability to record a short episode.
Oh yeah, you might be right about that, but I do think that there are so many amazing actors in this world, and what separates the ones that do it for a career and the ones that don't is the ones that do it for a career know how to get jobs. More people will pay them, and that's kind of what this episode was about.
You know what we didn't talk about is headshots. So maybe next time we'll talk about headshots as well, because I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, though it does
make a huge difference.
Nowadays, I think I'm barely ever interacting with headshots.
Yes, but casting, I think, still is. You know. And I think we're interacting with headshots in more ways than we realize.
Yeah. I mean, I think by the time they get to us, their headshot has gotten them through.
Sure.
And I do also click on the actor profiles. So by the way, I have a lot of headshots on your actor's profile.
Yeah.
I love to see all the different looks, especially when I think the look you wore to the audition, like your hairstyle, your lighting, your glasses, whatever, isn't quite right. I like to see some other options. So anyhow, it's useful. Do we do an unpaid endorsement on this episode?
I think so. Let's do it. Yeah.
Unpaid endorsements.
New listeners, if you're unfamiliar, this is the part where Oren and I talk about a thing that we like. This is a 2-part endorsement. One, obvious, people are going to roll their eyes. Lots of people already saw it. Hail Mary's great. It's really fun.
You saw it?
I saw it.
One of my favorite books I've read in like the last 5 years.
That I did see it in 4DX. And as a 4DX evangelist, I think it is fine, actually. It does a thing where if you're in space and you're rocking around in the crazy parts, and then sometimes it goes quiet and you're not shifting much at all. So like it's no twisters in terms of a 4DX film. That's a different experience than whether or not it's a good movie. Though there is one single water blast and it's gross. And I always like it when they go gross with the water squirt.
Right, because 4Ds blast you with water.
They will blast you with water. And if it's like spit or vomit or snot, that's always funnier to me. Because, and this is early in the movie, the audience is reminded of like what they're in for. Like we've all seen movies before that, but then you sit down and the chair starts moving. You're like, whoa. And then you get squirted in the face with water. And then you're on a roller coaster for a few seconds. And then there's a quiet moment. And we all get to like giggle together and realize we've just strapped in for a different experience. So it's a delight. I've talked enough about 4DX. The other thing I will recommend that is Hail Mary adjacent is the set, the space station or spaceship that Ryan Gosling spends most of the movie on is a practical set. And Adam Savage does a very nerdy 10-minute deep dive on the practical aspects of the set with the set designer. And he shows you how it's all modular and they custom printed and crafted every single console and screen. It's all practical screens, it's all practical buttons, and they're all on DMX. So you can change any color on any button for the entire corridor of the ship. And it is just a mass of wires and wireless controls and labels. And if you care about that stuff, it is so satisfying and nerdy.
And where did you see this? On YouTube?
It's on Adam Savage's tested YouTube channel. Yeah. So it's not super polished, it's just like Adam and the camera guy and they're talking nerdy stuff, but I really enjoyed it. So, it's there. I don't think there are any spoilers in it, but like it does take away a little bit of the magic. You're reminded that it's not a real spaceship that he's on. So maybe watch it after you see the film, but that's my endorsement.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are talking about the practicalness of so many things, including the alien and stuff, that it's a puppet. Yeah. And yeah, I'm so excited to watch that movie. I'm
maybe
going to take
go next. Maybe go. I kind of regret not seeing it. 4DX is a big
70
screen.
millimeter at Vista.
Yeah.
I wanted to take my daughter winter.
I think you could swing it. it's like sad and there's peril and stuff, but I think she should handle it. She could handle it, I think.
Great. I've been kind of on this little kick of trying to fix everything that's broken in my house. And I think we all always want to do that, but you get the list, it gets like so long, and then you're like, I'm never going to do this. But now every day I try to just fix one thing. And I'm sure everybody knows this, but maybe if you're like a renter or, maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody doesn't know about this. But I've been like converting all our cabinets that aren't soft close to soft close.
Ooh, so good.
Because, you can, when you get a new cabinet nowadays, or drawers that are soft, usually they come with these soft close hinges where you slam a cabinet shut, it catches itself, or a drawer will like not slam. But if you have old cabinets, like we have a bunch of old ones, you can just get these like at Home Depot, like a soft close cabinet door damper. You can get like a 2-pack for $8, and you kind of only need one per cabinet door. It kind of depends the size. If it's like a big pantry door, you need two. But so I've been happily doing it and seeing if my family notices. And the answer is no, they do not notice. Even though, like, have you not noticed it's way quieter in the house now because you're not slamming doors all fine.
I was thinking about, I'm on a real gardening kick. It's spring and I've been at home a lot and I've been just trying to like literally touch grass. And it occurred to me, I was like, what will happen when I'm done? Like eventually I'll get through everything, every little project that I want to do. And then I'll just have to do it again. And B, like, that's the whole point. Do you know what I mean? Like it's always a work in progress, and like enjoying that and relishing that is the good stuff. Spice life.
Yeah. I have this new shed, right? Photo.
Yeah, you did something. You sent me photos.
I ran like power to it now, and cool. Yesterday I put like I changed out the light switch for like a motion detector switch. Now you just like open the shed doors, and you walk in, and it
like, turns on. I have these Lutron. They mount over your traditional light switch, and it's a dial. So it's like a fader dial, like you would normally do, but there's no installation to them, and they're smart. So if you have smart bulbs, you can use one switch to turn the entire room off, or dim it up, or dim it down.
Oh, that's cool.
They're great. Yeah, they're really great.
I'm not on the smart bulb train yet, but I believe I will eventually be there.
I'm surprised you're not by now. I think it's the center of the Venn diagram between you and your wife's home decor interests.
Well, my wife is anti-tech and home decor. She doesn't even like LED lighting.
Just wait till you can tell her to like build a preset, and you can be like, Alexa party mode, and then like everything's like
cool. She doesn't like.
Yeah, I don't blame her for that. But you could hit the app too. You could like party mode on the app, and like, all of a sudden, all of your lightscaping is instantly ready to go.
Yeah, she was annoyed that I turned the volume up on our TV with my phone the other day. That's where she is on home automation.
Yeah, I feel like the theme of this episode is our wives are smarter than we are. So more power to her.
Maybe. Well, speaking of this episode, we'd love to hear your thoughts on anything that we've talked about. You can email us at justmail.com. You can find us on social media at JustShootItPod. I'm on Instagram at OKaplan.
And I'm at Mr. Matt and Oren. This episode was edited by Kevin O. Yang, produced by Tyler Schmall, and our social media is done by Lily Bouvier. Thanks to you all. And you're listening to music provided by the Free Music Archive and the artist Jazar. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.